The space station floated in the darkness like a giant wheel. Inside, lights glowed warm and bright. Corporal Han Tae-sung stood near the wall of the grand hall, his eyes scanning the crowd. He wore his dress uniform, dark blue with silver buttons. His rifle stayed strapped to his back. Even though this was supposed to be a peaceful meeting, around him, hundreds of beings moved through the hall. Some were human like him. Others were definitely not. The Valarians stood taller than most humans, their skin shimmering with faint colors that changed in the light. They wore flowing robes that seemed to move on their own. Their eyes were larger than human eyes, colored in shades of violet and gold. Tae-sung had never seen anything like them before today. He had fought on 3 different worlds during his service, but he had never met aliens who wanted to talk instead of fight. It felt strange. Stay alert, his captain had told him that morning. Just because they smile doesn't mean everyone here wants peace. Tae-sung took those words seriously. He watched the doors, the windows, the vents. He tracked every person who moved near the human diplomats. Across the room, he could see her. Princess Yuna of the Valerian Empire. She stood among her own guards, talking with Ambassador Lee Da-hae. The princess looked young, though Tae-sung had learned that Valerians lived much longer than humans. She could be 100 years old and still look like she was in her 20s. She laughed at something the ambassador said. The sound carried across the room like music. Her robes were white and gold, and her skin shimmered with soft blue light. A crown of crystal sat on her head, catching the light with every movement. Tae-sung looked away. He wasn't here to stare at princesses. He was here to do his job. The reception continued. Human leaders talked with Valerian nobles. Translators worked hard to help everyone understand each other. Servers brought food and drinks from both worlds. Everything seemed to be going well. Too well. Tae-sung felt his muscles tense. Something was wrong. He couldn't say what. Exactly. Just a feeling in his gut. The same feeling he got right before combat. He scanned the room again, more carefully this time. Most of the Valerian guards stood still, watching politely. But one near the far door kept moving. His hand kept going to his belt, then away, then back again. Tae-sung started walking. He moved slowly, trying not to cause alarm. He circled around the edge of the room, getting closer. Then everything happened at once. The lights went out. Emergency systems kicked in a second later, bathing everything in red. People screamed. Someone shouted orders in Valerian. Tae-sung heard the sound of energy weapons charging. He ran. His eyes adjusted quickly to the red light. Training took over. He pushed through the crowd, heading toward where he had last seen the princess. Other Marines were doing the same, moving to protect the human diplomats. A figure in dark armor burst from the crowd. He held something in his hand that glowed bright white. A plasma blade. The weapon hummed as it cut through the air. The assassin was heading straight for Princess Yuna. Her guards were turning, too slow. The princess stood frozen, her eyes wide with shock. The blade came down. Tae-sung didn't think. He just moved. He crashed into the princess from the side, wrapping his arms around her and spinning. They fell together, hitting the floor hard. The plasma blade meant for her chest carved through the air above them. Then it came down again. Pain exploded across Tae-sung's back and side. The blade cut deep, burning and freezing at the same time. He screamed. The smell of his own burned flesh filled his nose. The princess cried out beneath him. Not in pain. In horror. Gunfire erupted. Tae-sung heard human rifles and Valerian energy weapons firing. The assassin fell, his body hitting the floor near them. More weapons fired. More shouting. More chaos. Tae-sung tried to push himself up, but his arms wouldn't work right. His vision went dark at the edges. He felt blood, hot and wet, spreading across his uniform. "Don't move," someone shouted in English. "Medic! We need a medic here." Hands grabbed him, rolling him onto his back. The pain made him want to scream again, but he couldn't find the air. He looked up and saw the princess leaning over him. Her face was close to his. Tears ran down her cheeks, glowing faintly with the same light as her skin. "Why?" she whispered in accented English. "Why did you do that? Why? Why did you do that?" Tae-sung tried to answer, but only blood came out of his mouth. His vision went darker. He could hear the medics shouting about his injuries. Something about the wound being too deep. Something about his organs. The princess grabbed his hand. Her skin felt warm and strange. It tingled where she touched him. "You will not die," she said firmly. "I will not allow it." She spoke in Valerian then, words he didn't understand. Her hands began to glow brighter. Patterns appeared on her skin, like circuits made of light. They spread from her hands onto his arms. "Your Highness, you can't," one of her guards shouted. "The ritual, I am already decided," she snapped back in English. "This human saved my life. I owe him everything." Tae-sung felt something happening. The pain didn't go away, but something else came with it. Warmth. Energy. Like someone was pouring liquid sunlight into his veins. The princess kept holding his hand, kept speaking in her language. The human medics arrived with their equipment. They started working on him, cutting away his uniform, spraying foam into his wound to stop the bleeding. The Valerian doctors came too, arguing with the humans about treatment. Through it all, the princess held his hand. The glowing patterns on her skin grew brighter and more complex. They spread up her arms, across her chest, onto her face. She looked like she was made of living light. "What is she doing?" someone asked. "The life debt," another Valerian voice answered. "She has bound herself to him." Tae-sung's vision went completely dark. The last thing he saw was the princess's face above him, glowing like a star. The last thing he felt was her hand in his, warm and alive. Then nothing. When Tae-sung woke up, he didn't know how much time had passed. He lay in a medical bed, in a room he didn't recognize. White walls. Soft light. The quiet beep of monitors. He tried to sit up and immediately regretted it. Pain shot through his torso. He gasped and fell back. "Please, don't move." The voice came from beside his bed. Tae-sung turned his head. Princess Yuna sat in a chair next to him. She looked tired. Her robes were different now, simpler. But her skin still showed those glowing patterns. They were fainter now, but still there. "You," Tae-sung said. His voice came out rough. "You're okay. Because of you," she said. She reached out and took his hand again. "You saved my life, Corporal Han Tae-sung. You nearly died for someone you didn't even know." "My job," he managed to say. "No." She shook her head. "Your job was to protect the human diplomats. I am Valerian. You had no duty to me. You chose to save me." She stood up, still holding his hand. The patterns on her skin glowed brighter. "So now I have a duty to you," she said. "I have declared the life debt. I am bound to you until this debt is repaid." Tae-sung stared at her. He had no idea what she was talking about, but something in her eyes told him his life had just become very complicated. Tae-sung spent 3 days in the medical bay. The doctors said he was lucky to be alive. The plasma blade had cut through muscle and nearly reached his spine. Without the princess doing whatever she had done, he would have bled out in minutes. Ambassador Da-hai came to visit on the second day. She sat down with a serious expression. "We need to talk about what happened," she said. "Specifically, about what Princess Yuna did." "She saved my life," Tae-sung said. "She did more than that." Da-hai pulled out a tablet and showed him a document. She invoked something called the Calvaris. It's an ancient Valerian tradition. A life debt. Tae-sung read through the document slowly. His chest hurt when he breathed too deep, so he had to take his time. What he read made his head spin. According to Valerian law, when someone saved a royal's life, The royal became bound to that person. They had to serve them, protect them, stay by their side until the debt was repaid with an act of equal importance. This has to be a mistake, Taesung said. She's a princess. I'm just a corporal. That's what makes this complicated, Dahe said. In Valerian culture, honor matters more than rank. She feels she owes you everything, and their culture takes these debts very seriously. So what does this mean? Dahe sighed. It means Princess Yuna has declared her intention to stay with you, to serve you, to protect you, until she feels the debt is repaid. That's crazy, maybe to us, but to them, it's sacred. Dahe leaned forward. Corporal, I need you to understand something. This alliance with the Valerians is important. They have technology we need, territory we want access to. If we insult them by refusing this tradition, we could lose everything. Taesung felt cold despite the warm room. You're saying I have to accept this. I'm saying we need you to think about the bigger picture. After Dahe left, Taesung lay in bed staring at the ceiling. None of this made sense. He had just done his job. Well, not even his job. He had just reacted, seen someone in danger and moved to help. Now a princess wanted to follow him around? Princess Yuna visited again that evening. She brought food from the Valerian section of the station. Strange fruits that glowed faintly and smelled like flowers. You need to eat, she said. The doctors say you're healing well, but you need strength. Your Highness, please, just Yuna. We are bound now. Titles seem unnecessary. Taesung sat up carefully. About that. This life debt thing. There has to be another way. Yuna's expression grew serious. The patterns on her skin flickered. There is no other way. You saved my life at the cost of your own safety. In my culture, this creates a bond that cannot be broken. I must repay this debt. But you already saved my life. You did that glowing thing. We're even. That was not repayment. That was simply me trying to preserve what you risked for me. She sat down in the chair beside his bed. Please, try to understand. In Valerian society, honor is everything. If I did not acknowledge this debt, I would be seen as ungrateful, shameful. It would bring dishonor to my entire house. And if I refuse, her face fell. That would be even worse. It would be an insult so grave that it could destroy the alliance between our peoples. Taesung closed his eyes. He was a soldier. He followed orders. He understood duty. But this felt like too much. How long does this last? He asked. Until the debt is repaid. Usually, the one who is owed finds something for the debtor to do, a task of equal importance to saving their life. Once completed, the bond is released. So I just need to ask you to do something important? Yes. But it must truly be equal to what you gave me. You risked death. So the repayment must involve similar risk or sacrifice. She looked at him steadily. These bonds sometimes last years, sometimes a lifetime. Taesung felt like he was drowning. I need time to think. Of course. Yuna stood to leave. Then she paused at the door. For what it's worth, Corporal, I am grateful. Not because tradition demands it, but because you saw someone in danger and helped. After she left, Taesung thought about her words. He had never considered himself special. He had just done what felt right in the moment. Now that moment was changing his entire life. On the 5th day, the doctors cleared him to leave medical. His wounds were healing, though he would have scars. He got dressed in a fresh uniform and found Princess Yuna waiting outside. She wore simpler clothes now, though still clearly expensive. Her guard stood behind her, looking unhappy. I'm ready to accompany you, she said. Accompany me where? Wherever you go. That's how the life debt works. Tae-sung saw his captain approaching with Ambassador Da-hae. They both looked stressed. Corporal Han, the captain said, we've received word from Valerian High Command. Princess Yuna has formally requested permission to stay with you. The Empress herself has approved it. Sir, this is... I know what this is, soldier, and I don't like it any more than you do. But we have our orders. The captain's expression softened slightly. You saved her life. Now we all have to deal with the consequences. Da-hae spoke up. The Valarian government has invited you both to Valar Prime, their capital world. There will be a ceremony to formally acknowledge the life debt. We need you to attend. Both of us? Tae-sung asked. Both of you, Yuna confirmed. It is tradition. The bond must be witnessed and blessed by the High Temple. Tae-sung wanted to argue. To refuse. To wake up and find out this was all some strange dream caused by the pain medication. But he saw the way everyone was looking at him. The human diplomats. The Valerian guards. Even his own captain. They all needed him to go along with this. Fine, he said. I'll go. The journey to Valar Prime took 2 days on a Valarian ship. Tae-sung had never been on an alien vessel before. Everything felt slightly wrong. The gravity was a bit too light. The air smelled like ozone and flowers. The walls glowed with soft light that had no visible source. Yuna gave him a tour of the ship. She explained how their technology worked, though most of it went over his head. She showed him the meditation chambers where Valerians recharged their energy. She introduced him to the crew, who all treated her with deep respect. They also stared at Tae-sung like he was a puzzle they couldn't solve. A human, a common soldier, bound to their princess by the sacred life debt. They think I'm taking advantage of you, Tae-sung said one evening. Some do, Yuna admitted. They stood in the observation deck, watching the stars stream past. They see a human who jumped in front of a blade and now has a princess in his service. They think you planned it. That's insane. I nearly died. Humans are known for being unpredictable, for taking risks that seem illogical. She looked at him. That's what makes your people fascinating. You do things that make no sense from a survival standpoint. You sacrifice for others. You fight when you should flee. You hope when logic says, there is none. You make us sound crazy. Maybe a little, she smiled. But it's a good kind of crazy. Valar Prime appeared in the view screen like a jewel. The planet glowed with city lights, even from space. 3 moons orbited it, each one covered in structures. Orbital stations dotted the space around it like a net of stars. It's beautiful, Tae-sung said. It's home. Yuna's voice carried sadness. I haven't been here in 2 years. I've been traveling, learning about other species, trying to understand the galaxy beyond our borders. And now you're bound to me instead. She looked at him. The patterns on her skin glowed brighter. I don't see this as a burden, Corporal. I see it as an opportunity. To learn from you. To understand humans better. Maybe that understanding will help our peoples grow closer. The ship landed in the capital city. Tae-sung stepped out onto an alien world for the first time. The air felt different. Thinner. Sweeter. The buildings towered overhead, their surfaces covered in the same glowing patterns that marked Yuna's skin. Thousands of Valerians waited at the spaceport. They held lights and sang in their musical language, all for their princess returning home. Tae-sung felt very small and very human standing next to her. Stay close, Yuna whispered. The ceremony begins tomorrow. Tonight, you are my honored guest. They rode through the city in a floating vehicle. Everywhere Tae-sung looked, he saw wonders. Buildings that seemed to grow from the ground like trees. Streams of light flowing through the air like rivers. Valerians moving with natural grace, their skin glowing in patterns of communication. He was very far from home. That night, in the royal palace, Tae-sung stood on a balcony overlooking the city. Yuna found him there. Having second thoughts? She asked. A few hundred of them, She stood beside him. I know this is difficult. You didn't ask for any of this. But please believe me when I say I will do everything I can to make this work. For both of us. Taesung looked at her. Really looked at her. Not as a princess. Not as an alien. Just as a person who had nearly died and was now trying to honor her culture's way of saying thank you. Okay, he said. Yuna smiled. Her whole face lit up, patterns glowing bright. Together, she agreed. The ceremony was more intense than Taesung had imagined. He stood in the grand temple, wearing formal robes that Yuna's servants had given him. The building stretched high above, its ceiling covered in stars that seemed real. Thousands of Valerians filled the space, all watching him. Yuna knelt before him in white robes. Her hair was arranged in an elaborate style, held in place by crystal pins. The high priestess spoke in ancient Valerian, words that flowed like music. Then Yuna spoke. Taesung wore a translation device, so he heard her words in English, while she spoke her own language. I, Princess Yuna of House Valara, declare before witnesses that this human saved my life. He risked everything for someone he did not know. For this, I pledge myself to his service. I will protect him as he protected me. I will honor him as my people honor the sacred bond. Until my debt is repaid, his life is my life. His path is my path. This I swear by the light of our ancestors. The glowing patterns on her skin blazed bright. They spread across her face, down her arms, covering every visible part of her. The light was so intense that Taesung had to squint. Then the light flowed from her to him. It moved like liquid, spreading across his own skin. He felt it sink into him, warm and electric. When it faded, faint patterns remained on his arms. They matched hers. The priestess declared the bond complete. The crowd erupted in a sound that was half song, half cheer. Taesung helped Yuna to her feet. She looked exhausted but happy. It's done, she said. We are bound. 3 weeks passed. Taesung stayed on Velar Prime, while the diplomats worked on alliance details. He learned Valerian customs. He trained with Yuna's personal guards. He tried not to think about how strange his life had become. Then his orders came through. Report back to active duty. His unit was being deployed to patrol the border region between human and unclaimed space. Pirates had been attacking supply ships. I'll inform the princess that you're leaving, Captain Jiwoo said. The captain had arrived on Velar Prime with other military personnel. He was a serious man, with hard eyes and a scar across his jaw. Actually, sir, Taesung said, she already knows. How? The life debt. She says she can sense when I'm stressed, or when something changes. I think she felt it when I read the orders. Jiwoo frowned. And she says she's coming with me. Absolutely not. We're going into a combat zone. I'm not bringing a Valerian princess on patrol, but Yuna had already made her decision. She went directly to the Empress, her mother, and requested permission to accompany Taesung. The Empress agreed. The life debt was sacred. Yuna had to stay with the one who saved her, even into danger. The human high command tried to argue. Ambassador Dahe nearly had a breakdown trying to explain why this was a terrible idea. But in the end, they had no choice. The alliance was too important. If they refused, it would insult the Valerians. So Yuna packed her things and prepared to join a human military unit. Captain Jiwoo gathered the squad on the transport ship. 12 Marines. All experienced soldiers. They stared at Princess Yuna like she was a strange dream. Listen up, Jiwoo said. I know this is unusual, but Princess Yuna will be accompanying us on this deployment. She is under the protection of Corporal Han, due to their cultural bond. You will treat her with respect. You will also remember that this is a military operation. Is that clear? Sir, yes, sir, the Marines responded. One of them, Lieutenant Hana, leaned close to Taesung. This is the craziest thing I've ever seen, she whispered. And I once saw Private Kim try to fight a mechanical loader. Trust me, Taesung whispered back. I know. The first patrol was a disaster. Yuna tried to help, but she didn't understand human military procedures. She stood in the wrong places. She asked questions during moments when silence was critical. She didn't know how to use human equipment. The other Marines grew frustrated. Taesung found himself constantly worried about her, which distracted him from his own duties. Captain Ji-woo looked ready to throw something. On the third day, they received a distress call. A civilian transport was under attack by pirates. The squad deployed immediately. Taesung's heart pounded as their ship approached the scene. 3 pirate vessels surrounded the transport, tearing into its hull with weapons fire. The transport was sending out desperate calls for help. We're outnumbered, Ji-woo said. But we can't wait for backup. That transport has 200 civilians on board. They went in fast and hard. The Marines deployed in their combat suits, magnetic boots locking them to the transport's hull. Taesung moved with his squad, rifle ready. The pirates saw them coming. They turned their weapons toward the Marines. Energy bolts and ballistic rounds filled the space between the ships. Spread out, Ji-woo shouted. Cover. Formation. Taesung took position behind a damaged section of hull. Yuna was right behind him, her eyes wide. She wore a Valerian combat suit that shimmered like liquid metal. Stay down, Taesung told her. Let us handle this. But the pirates had more firepower than expected. 2 Marines went down, their suits punctured. The squad had to fall back. They were pinned down with no good options. Then Yuna stood up. Get down, Taesung shouted. She didn't listen. She raised her hands, and the patterns on her skin blazed with light. Energy gathered around her fingers. She spoke in Valerian, words that seemed to make the air vibrate. Then she released it. A wave of pure force exploded from her hands. It wasn't like any weapon Taesung had seen. It moved like water, flowing around the Marines but slamming into the pirates. 3 of them were thrown back, their weapons destroyed. One of the pirate ships shuddered, its engines sparking. The Marines stared in shock. Then training kicked in. Move! Ji-woo shouted. While they're stunned, the squad advanced. Taesung stayed close to Yuna, covering her while she recovered from the energy blast. Together, they pushed forward. The pirates, surprised and disorganized, began to retreat. Within minutes, the fight was over. The pirates fled, leaving their damaged ship behind. The civilian transport was saved. Back on their ship, the squad gathered in the common room. Everyone looked at Yuna differently now. She sat quietly, still tired from using her abilities. That was impressive, Lieutenant Hana said. Can all Valerians do that? Most can, Yuna said. We learn to manipulate energy from a young age. It's part of our biology. But using it in combat drains us quickly. Could have mentioned that before, Ji-woo said, but his tone wasn't angry anymore. It was thoughtful. Still, you saved our people out there. Thank you. Yuna looked surprised. I was only doing my duty. The life debt. Forget the life debt for a second, Hana interrupted. You saw Marines in danger, and you helped. That's what matters. The atmosphere began to change after that. The squad started asking Yuna questions about Valerian combat techniques. She showed them how her people trained, demonstrating movements that seemed impossible with human bodies. In return, the Marines taught her human tactics. Taesung watched as Yuna and Hana practiced hand-to-hand combat. Yuna was faster and stronger, but Hana was unpredictable. She used dirty tricks and sudden moves that caught the princess off guard. Humans don't fight fair, Yuna said, laughing after Hana swept her legs for the 3rd time. Fighting fair is a good way to die, Hana said, helping her up. Besides, you're the one who can shoot energy from your hands. Over the following weeks, they ran more patrols. Each mission went smoother than the last. Yuna learned to anticipate what the squad needed. The Marines learned to work with her abilities. Slowly, she became part of the team. Tae-sung noticed himself changing too. He still worried about Yuna, but now it felt different. Less like protecting someone helpless, and more like watching the back of a fellow soldier. They trained together every day. She taught him Valarian combat forms that emphasized flow and energy. He taught her human close-quarters tactics. One evening, after a particularly hard patrol, they sat together in the observation deck. Through the window, stars streamed past as the ship traveled between sectors. "You're not happy," Yuna said suddenly. "What?" "I can feel it. Through the bond. You're troubled." Tae-sung sighed. He had forgotten that the life debt let her sense his emotions somehow. "I'm just thinking about home. My family. I haven't seen them in 2 years." And descended. "Tell me about them." So he did. He told her about his mother, who ran a small restaurant. About his father, who had served in the military before him. About his younger sister, who wanted to be a doctor. Simple stories about ordinary people. Yuna listened quietly. When he finished, she said, "They sound wonderful. You must miss them very much." "I do, but this is my duty, serving out here." "Do you ever regret it? Joining the military?" "Sometimes, when things get hard." He looked at her. "Do you regret the life debt? Being stuck out here? Instead of home?" She was quiet for a long moment. The patterns on her skin pulsed slowly. "At first, yes. I thought it would be a burden, following you around, trying to repay this debt. But now," she smiled, "now I think it might be the best thing that ever happened to me." "How can you say that? You're a princess. You had everything. I had wealth, status, comfort. But I never had purpose like this. Out here, with you and the squad, I feel like I'm doing something real. Something that matters. I'm not just a princess anymore. I'm a warrior. A protector. That means something." Tae-sung felt warmth in his chest that had nothing to do with the ship's climate control. "You've become important to the squad." "To me? I know this started because of tradition, but I'm glad you're here." Yuna reached out and took his hand. The touch sent a familiar tingle through his skin. The life-debt bond hummed between them, stronger than before. "So am I," she said. They sat together in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Neither of them noticed Lieutenant Hana watching from the doorway, a knowing smile on her face. The message came through on a secure channel. Captain Ji-woo called Tae-sung and Yuna to his office immediately. When they arrived, they found Ambassador Dahae on the video screen. She looked worried. "We have a problem," Dahae said without introduction. "Director Choi from Intelligence has been investigating the assassination attempt. The one that started all this." "I thought that was resolved," Tae-sung said. "They caught the assassin. They caught one assassin. But Director Choi found evidence that suggests he wasn't acting alone. Someone with access to high-level Valarian security helped plan the attack." Yuna went very still. The patterns on her skin flickered. "Who?" Dahae hesitated. "The evidence points to someone in the royal family. But we can't prove it yet. Director Choi is still gathering information." After the call ended, Yuna stood by the window for a long time. "It was my brother," she said finally. "Prince Ryun. You don't know that." "Yes, I do." She turned to face him. "Ryun has always wanted the throne. But our mother, the Empress, favors our eldest sister for succession. Ryun has been looking for ways to change her mind. If I died, and it looked like humans were responsible, he could use that to gain favor, to position himself as the protector of our people. That's a serious accusation. I know, but it makes sense. He's been against the human alliance from the start. He thinks your people are too dangerous, too unpredictable." She walked to Tae-sung and took his hands. "If this is true, he won't stop. He'll find another way to break the alliance. 3 days later, they received new orders. Return to Valar Prime immediately. The Valarian High Council wanted to see both Tae Sung and Yuna. The journey felt different this time, tense. Yuna barely spoke. She spent hours in meditation, the patterns on her skin pulsing in complex rhythms. She's scared, Lieutenant Hana said to Tae Sung. She thinks her brother tried to kill her. Do you believe her? Tae Sung thought about it. Yes, I do. When they arrived at Valar Prime, armed guards met them at the spaceport. Not Yuna's personal guards. These were military soldiers with serious expressions and heavy weapons. Princess Yuna, their commander said. Corporal Han Tae Sung, you are summoned before the High Council. Come with us. They were taken to the Grand Palace. But instead of the beautiful halls, Tae Sung remembered. They were led to a cold chamber, deep underground. The High Council sat in a semicircle on elevated platforms. The Empress was there, looking tired and sad. Next to her sat Prince Ryun. He was tall, like all Valarians, with pale skin marked by patterns of gold and red. His eyes were cold as he looked at his sister and Tae Sung. Princess Yuna, the head counselor began. You stand accused of abandoning your duties to the Empire, of placing your personal honor above the needs of your people, of allowing yourself to be manipulated by a human soldier. What? Tae Sung stepped forward. That's not true. Silence. Ryun stood. You have no voice here, human. This is a Valarian matter. Ryun, he saved my life, Yuna said firmly. The life debt is sacred. I have done nothing wrong. Haven't you? Ryun began to pace. You've spent months with humans, learning their ways, fighting their battles. Meanwhile, our people need you here. The council needs your wisdom. But you're too busy playing soldier with this human. The way he said human made it sound like an insult. I have honored our traditions, Yuna said. The life debt. The life debt is being used as an excuse, Ryun interrupted. Look at him, sister. Really look at him. A common soldier who jumped in front of a blade and now has a princess bound to him. How convenient. How perfectly timed. You think I planned this? Tae Sung couldn't stay quiet. I nearly died. Did you? Or did you know our medical technology would save you? Perhaps you studied our culture, learned about the life debt, saw an opportunity to gain power through my sister. That's insane. Is it? Ryun turned to the council. Humans are known for their cunning, their ability to adapt and manipulate. This one saw a chance to bind a Valarian princess to himself, to gain access to our technology, our secrets, our power. Yuna's skin blazed with light. Enough. Tae Sung acted with honor. He asked nothing from me. He didn't even want the life debt, so you say. But can we trust your judgment? You've been under his influence for months. How do we know he hasn't manipulated you? The council murmured among themselves. Tae Sung felt sick. This was all wrong. Ryun was twisting everything, making it sound like Tae Sung had planned the whole thing. The Empress finally spoke. Her voice was tired. Prince Ryun raises valid concerns. The life debt is sacred, but it has been abused in the past. We must investigate this matter thoroughly. Mother, Yuna started, Corporal Han Tae Sung will be held in protective custody until we determine the truth, the Empress continued. If he is innocent, he will be released and honored. If he has manipulated you, daughter, then he will face justice. Guards moved forward. Tae Sung didn't resist. He let them take his arms. But as they led him away, he saw Ryun smile. It was a cold, satisfied smile. Yuna called out to him, but more guards held her back. The cell was nicer than Tae Sung expected. More like a hotel room than a prison. But the door was locked, and guards stood outside. He was a prisoner, no matter how comfortable the cage. Director Choi managed to get a message to him on the third day. It came through a hidden device, smuggled in by a sympathetic guard. "We found proof," Choi's recorded voice said. "Prince Ryun paid the assassin. He planned the whole thing. But the evidence is encrypted in Valerian systems. We're trying to break it, but we need time. Can you hold on?" Taesung had no choice but to hold on. Yuna came to see him on the 5th day. She looked terrible. Her skin was dim, the patterns barely visible. She had been crying. "They won't let me speak at the trial," she said through the barrier that separated them. The guards wouldn't let her come closer. "Ryun convinced the council that I'm compromised, that I can't be objective about you." 2. "It's okay," Taesung said, though nothing felt okay. "No, it's not. This is my fault. If I had been more careful, if I had realized what Ryun was planning, you couldn't have known. I should have." Tears ran down her face. "He's my brother. I should have seen what he was capable of." Taesung pressed his hand against the barrier. After a moment, Yuna pressed hers against it from the other side. Even through the energy field, he felt the warmth of the life-debt bond. "Listen to me," he said. "Whatever happens, you need to stay strong. The alliance is more important than me. Don't let Ryun use this to start a war. I can't lose you." Her voice broke. "The life debt is part of it. Yes, but it's more than that now. You have to know that." Taesung did know. He had known for weeks, maybe longer. The feelings between them had grown beyond any ancient tradition. But saying it out loud felt dangerous right now. "I know," he said quietly. "I feel it too." They stayed like that. Hands pressed to the barrier, until the guards said time was up. Yuna was led away. She looked back at him once, her eyes full of pain. That night, Taesung lay on the bed staring at the ceiling. He thought about his family back on Earth, his mother's restaurant, his father's stories, his sister's dreams. Would he ever see them again? The door opened suddenly. Captain Jiwoo and Lieutenant Hana entered, both in full combat gear. "What?" Taesung started. "No time," Jiwoo said. "We're getting you out of here. You can't. If you help me escape, it'll make things worse." "We're not escaping," Hana said. She tossed him a uniform. "We're going to prove your innocence." "How?" Director Choi. "Broke the encryption," Jiwoo said. "We have proof of Ryun's involvement. But we need to get it to the council before the trial tomorrow. And the only way to do that is to present it in person. They'll arrest you for breaking me out, probably. But we're Marines. We don't leave people behind." Jiwoo smiled grimly. "Besides, the princess asked for our help, and after everything we've been through together, we're not going to let her down." Taesung felt something warm in his chest. Hope, mixed with gratitude. He got dressed quickly. "Let's go prove I'm not a master manipulator," he said. "That's the spirit," Hana said. "Though, honestly, anyone who knows you knows you're way too straightforward to manipulate anyone." They moved through the palace using routes that Lieutenant Hana had somehow memorized. Taesung didn't ask how. When they reached the council chambers, they found the doors guarded. "This is as far as we can go quietly," Jiwoo said. "After this, it's going to get loud." Taesung nodded. "Then let's make it count." They stepped forward, ready to face whatever came next. The guards at the council chamber doors raised their weapons. Captain Jiwoo raised his hands slowly. "We're not here to fight," he said in Valerian. Taesung hadn't known the captain could speak the language. "We have evidence that must be presented to the council. Evidence of treason." The guards looked uncertain. Before they could decide what to do, the doors opened from inside. Ambassador Dahae stood there with Director Choi beside her. "Let them in," Dahae said. "They're expected." The guards lowered their weapons but looked unhappy about it. Taesung and his group entered the chamber. The entire High Council was already assembled. The Empress sat on her throne, looking older than Taesung remembered. Prince Ryun stood to one side, his expression darkening when he saw them. And there was Yuna, standing in the center of the chamber. She wore formal robes of deep blue. Her eyes widened when she saw Tae-sung. "What is the meaning of this?" Ryun demanded. "That prisoner should be in his cell." "He's not a prisoner anymore," Director Choi said. He held up a data crystal. "I have proof of who really orchestrated the assassination attempt on Princess Yuna." The head counselor leaned forward. "This is a serious claim." "What proof do you have?" Choi activated the crystal. Holographic displays filled the air above the council. Communication logs, payment records, video footage, all of it showing Prince Ryun meeting with the assassin, planning the attack, arranging for the assassin to strike at the diplomatic reception. The council chamber erupted in shocked voices. The Empress stood, her face pale. "This cannot be," she whispered. "It's fabricated," Ryun shouted. "Human lies. They created this false evidence to protect their agent." "The encryption is Valerian military grade," Choi said calmly. "We recovered it from your personal secure server. The timestamps are verified. The communication signatures match your neural pattern. This is real." Prince Ryun. Ryun's skin blazed with angry red patterns. "You dare accuse me? I am a prince of the Valerian Empire." "You are a traitor," Yuna said quietly. But her voice carried through the chamber. "You tried to have me killed. Your own sister. For power. I did what was necessary." Ryun's control broke. "The humans are a threat. They multiply like insects. They spread across the galaxy, taking what doesn't belong to them. Our mother was going to let them into our empire, into our home. Someone had to stop it. So you tried to murder your sister," the Empress said. Her voice was cold as ice. "And frame the humans for it. I tried to save our people from making a terrible mistake." Ryun turned to the council. "Don't you see? They've already corrupted Yuna. She's bound herself to a human through the life debt. She fights their battles instead of serving our empire. This is what happens when we let them too close." "The life debt is sacred," the head counselor said. "Princess Yuna honored our traditions. Have betrayed them." Guards moved toward Ryun. He backed away, his hands glowing with gathered energy. "I will not be taken by human lovers and traitors." He released a blast of energy at the guards. They fell back, shields sparking. Ryun ran for a side exit. "The first in Sfron, Eni Ryun." "Stop him," the Empress commanded. Tae-sung didn't think, he just moved. He had spent months training with Yuna, learning Valerian combat. His body reacted on instinct. He intercepted Ryun at the doorway. The prince was stronger, faster. But Tae-sung had learned from fighting alongside aliens. He didn't fight fair. He used human tactics mixed with Valerian forms. When Ryun tried to blast him with energy, Tae-sung was already moving, using momentum and angles instead of strength. They crashed to the ground. Tae-sung got his arm around Ryun's throat, holding tight while the prince struggled. "It's over," Tae-sung said. Yuna was there suddenly, helping hold her brother down. Guards arrived and took over, securing Ryun in energy bonds. He screamed curses at all of them as they dragged him away. The chamber fell silent. Everyone stared at Tae-sung and Yuna. They stood together, breathing hard, the patterns on their skin glowing in sync. The Empress descended from her throne. She approached them slowly. "Corporal Han Tae-sung," she said, "I owe you an apology. And more than that, you saved my daughter's life. And now you have saved her honor as well. You have served the Valerian Empire better than my own son." "I just did what was right, Your Majesty. That is exactly what makes you worthy." She looked at Yuna. "Daughter, your life debt is clearly justified. This human has proven himself beyond any doubt. Thank you, Mother." The Empress turned to the council. "We will honor Corporal Han as a friend of the Empire, and the alliance with humanity will proceed as planned." The council members stood and bowed. It was done. The crisis was over. But there was still one thing left to resolve. 2 days later, another ceremony was held in the Grand Temple. Smaller than before, more intimate. The High Priestess stood before Yuna and Tae Sung once again. The life debt has been fulfilled, the priestess declared. Princess Yuna saved Corporal Han's life, just as he saved hers. The bond is balanced. The debt is repaid. She raised her hands, and light gathered around Yuna. The glowing patterns on her skin began to fade. The ones on Tae Sung's skin faded as well. The connection between them, that constant awareness of each other, began to dissolve. It felt like losing a part of himself. The priestess completed the ritual. You are both free. The life debt is released. Yuna stood there, looking lost. The patterns on her skin were completely gone now, except for her natural ones. Tae Sung felt empty, like something vital had been taken away. The witnesses began to leave. Soon, only Tae Sung and Yuna remained in the temple. They stood apart, neither knowing what to say. So that's it, Tae Sung finally said. You're free. Yes. I can return to my duties. You can return to yours. Right. That's good. That's what we wanted. They both knew it was a lie. Yuna looked at him. Really looked at him. The life debt is gone. But what I feel for you isn't. That was never because of tradition or obligation. I know. I feel the same way. Then why are we standing here pretending to say goodbye? Tae Sung closed the distance between them. He took her hands. Without the life debt bond, her skin felt different, but it still felt right. I don't want to say goodbye, he said. Neither do I. But you're a princess. I'm just a soldier. Your people. My people respect honor and courage. You have both. She smiled. Besides, my mother already suggested a solution. She did? Yuna nodded. There is a tradition. Not as old as the life debt, but still respected. When two people from different worlds wish to be joined, they can create a new bond. A bond of choice. Not because of debt or duty, but because they want to be together. Tae Sung felt his heart racing. You mean, I'm asking you to marry me, Corporal Han Tae Sung. Not because I have to. Not because tradition demands it. But because I love you. And I want to spend my life with you. He wanted to say yes immediately. But he had to be practical. It won't be easy. I'm human. You're Valerian. There will be people on both sides who oppose it. I know. And we'll have to figure out where to live. What to do. How to make it work. I know all of that. And I don't care. She squeezed his hands. When you jumped in front of that blade, you didn't think about the consequences. You just acted. So I'm asking you to do the same now. Don't think. Just answer. Do you want this? Tae Sung thought about his family back on Earth. His mother would be shocked. His father would probably laugh. His sister would be thrilled to have an alien princess as a sister-in-law. He thought about the squad. Lieutenant Hana had already told him he'd be an idiot to let Yuna go. Captain Ji-woo had said nothing. But he'd smiled in a way that said he knew what was coming. He thought about the future. About building something new. About two peoples learning to understand each other. About love that crossed the stars. Yes, he said. I want this. I want you. Yuna's face lit up with joy. The natural patterns on her skin glowed bright. She pulled him close and kissed him. It felt like coming home and starting an adventure at the same time. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were crying and laughing at once. We should tell my mother, Yuna said. We should tell everyone. They walked out of the temple hand in hand. Outside, the Valarian sky stretched above them, 3 moons hanging in the purple twilight. In the distance, Tae Sung could see Earth's sun, just one star among millions. But right now, standing here with Yuna, he felt like he was exactly where he was supposed to be. The wedding took place 3 months later. It was held on the space station where everything had started. The same station where Tae Sung had thrown himself in front of a blade, without thinking. Where a simple act of courage had changed 2 lives forever. The ceremony blended human and Valerian traditions. Taesung wore his dress uniform. Yuna wore robes that combined both cultures, white and gold with blue accents. Ambassador Dahe stood with them. So did the High Priestess. Two peoples, coming together. The Empress was there, smiling proudly. Taesung's family had come from Earth, staring in wonder at everything. The whole squad attended in their dress uniforms. Even Captain Jiwoo looked emotional, though he'd deny it later. When it came time for the vows, Yuna spoke first. I thought the life debt was the most important bond I would ever have. But I was wrong. This bond, the one we're creating now, is stronger. Because we choose it. Every day, I choose you. Every day, I will choose you again. Taesung had practiced his vows 100 times. But in the moment, he forgot them all. He just spoke from his heart. You jumped into my life when I least expected it. You showed me that honor and love can be the same thing. You made me better, stronger, more than I was before. And I promise to spend the rest of my life trying to be worthy of you. They sealed their vows with a kiss. And as they did, something amazing happened. The glowing patterns reappeared on both their skins. Not the life debt patterns. Something new, something they created together. The witnesses cheered. Human and Valerian voices, blending in celebration. 5 years later, Taesung and Yuna stood on the balcony of their home. It was built on a colony world, halfway between Earth and Velar Prime. A place where both peoples were learning to live together. Their daughter played inside. She was 3 years old, with her mother's glowing skin and her father's dark eyes. She was the first human Valerian child, created through genetic blending technology. She was beautiful and strange and perfect. Do you ever regret it? Yuna asked. She leaned against Taesung, his arm around her waist. Giving up your military career to be an ambassador? Never. Do you regret leaving the palace? Not for a second. She looked up at him. We're building something important here. Something that will outlast us. Taesung watched their daughter through the window. She was teaching a human child and a Valarian child how to play together. 3 different beings, learning to understand each other, learning to be friends. She's going to change the galaxy, he said. They all will, all the children like her. Growing up without the old fears and prejudices. Yuna smiled. We're just the beginning. It started with a blade. No. It started with a choice. You chose to protect someone you didn't know. I chose to honor that protection. And then we both chose each other. Taesung pulled her closer. Above them, stars from both their worlds shone down. Below them, 2 peoples were slowly becoming one. And in between, 2 hearts beat as one. The life debt had been repaid long ago. But the love that came from it would last forever.